What if I told you that hidden within the ancient, time-worn pages of the Bible lies a prophecy so explosive, so chilling, that it speaks directly to one of the most powerful nations in our world today, a nation whose name dominates the headlines, with its military might, its iron-fisted politics, and a relentless ambition to reshape the global order. A nation the prophets never called by its modern name, but described in a mysterious, coded language, pointing to the icy reaches of the far north, a land forged in steel, shadowed by fire. Yes, I'm talking about Russia, and this is no conspiracy theory, no wild guess. This is a prophecy written over 2,600 years ago, waiting patiently in plain sight until the day it would come alive. That day may already have begun, because right now before our eyes, Russia is locking arms with nations named directly in the Bible. Nations like Iran, once called Persia, nations like Turkey, Libya, and others, all listed by the prophet Ezekiel in his vision of the end times, like a gathering storm cloud stretching over the Middle East. The pieces of this prophecy are sliding into place with unnerving precision. Tonight, I'm going to take you into that prophecy. We will decode the ancient names. We will trace the alliances from Scripture to the evening news. And I warn you, once you see the connections, you can't unsee them, and you may never look at Russia or our future the same way again. For centuries, most people believed the Bible's prophecies were locked in the past. Stories about Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, empires that rose and fell thousands of years ago. But what if the prophets saw beyond their own time? What if they saw our headlines, our wars, our political chaos, and recorded them in the strange, symbolic language of prophecy? One of the clearest of these visions comes from the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. In it, the prophet describes a leader named Gog, from the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 2 to 3 reads, "Son of man, set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." For centuries, scholars wrestled with these strange names. Gog, Magog, Meshech, Tubal. Were they lost tribes, forgotten cities, or coded clues pointing to real lands and real peoples? In our world today, many believe Magog refers to ancient peoples living far north of Israel, possibly near the Caucasus Mountains, territory stretching deep into what we now call Russia. Meshech and Tubal, ancient regions in what is now Turkey and southern Russia. And here's the eerie part. Some scholars point out that Meshech sounds startlingly close to Moscow. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 15, drops the clue that ties it all together. You will come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you. From Israel's perspective, there is only one far north that perfectly fits the map: Russia. In Ezekiel's vision, Gog is the leader, Magog is the land, or the people he commands. Put it together, and you see a powerful ruler emerging from Russia, leading a coalition of nations against Israel. In the latter days, and this isn't random politics, it's prophecy unfolding, exactly as written thousands of years ago. The nations in Gog's coalition include Persia, modern Iran, along with countries many identify as Turkey, Libya, and others. And here's what's remarkable. Russia's ties with these exact nations are not theoretical. They are happening right now. Picture it. Moscow inking defense deals with Tehran. Russian warships anchored in Syrian ports. Military advisors drilling side by side, with troops from Turkey and Iran. To the casual observer, it's just geopolitical maneuvering. But through the lens of prophecy, it's the careful assembling of a force foretold, long before Russia ever existed as a nation. And there's another twist. Ezekiel says this invasion will strike when Israel is living in a time of peace and security. Many believe this points to a future moment, possibly after a landmark peace deal, when Israel feels safe, only to be caught off guard by a sudden, overwhelming attack from the north. Ezekiel doesn't just name the nations. He paints an image so vivid, it feels almost cinematic. In Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 16, God speaks to Gog, "You will come up against my people Israel, like a cloud covering the land. In the days to come, I will bring you against my land, so that the nations may know me, when I am proved holy through you before their eyes." Imagine it. The skies over Israel darken, not from rain, but from the shadow of a vast invading force. Tanks grinding across borders, missiles primed to launch, warships slicing through the Mediterranean. From the human point of view, it's a military nightmare. From God's point of view, it's a trap, because the prophecy says God himself will draw this coalition into battle, only to destroy it. In a display of power the world will never forget, Ezekiel chapter 38, verses 18 to 23, paint the moment of divine intervention with terrifying clarity. Earthquakes tearing through the land, hailstones crashing down like boulders from the heavens, fire consuming the enemy forces. It's as if the very elements themselves become God's weapons. This isn't some drawn-out military campaign. It's instant, unstoppable judgment. One moment, the invading armies are confident, their banners flying high, their weapons locked and ready. The next moment, they're shattered, scattered, utterly defeated. But here's a detail many overlook. The Gog and Magog prophecy in Ezekiel might not be the final Gog and Magog battle. Centuries after Ezekiel, the Apostle John records in Revelation chapter 20 another uprising, also called Gog and Magog. But this one takes place after the 1,000-year reign of Christ, when Satan is released for a short time to deceive the nations. Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 and 8 says, "When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. In number they are like the sand on the seashore. Same names, same pattern. The nations united in rebellion against God's people. And just like in Ezekiel, the result is identical. God's swift and overwhelming victory." Now, scholars debate, are these two separate battles? One before Christ's return, one after? Or is Ezekiel's prophecy symbolic, merging with the events of Revelation? The interpretations vary, but there's one truth no one disputes. In every case, Gog and Magog represent forces of destruction that God himself will crush. So where does Russia fit into this picture? Let's connect the dots. Ezekiel says Gog comes from the far north. Draw that line from Israel on a map, and it points directly to Russia. The nations listed as allies: Persia, which is modern-day Iran, Cush, Put, Gomer, and Togarmah. They align with modern-day nations across the Middle East and North Africa. And guess what? Many of them already have political, economic, or military ties with Moscow. And these ties aren't superficial. They're strategic, they're deep, and they're growing stronger every year. Russia has supplied Iran with advanced missile systems and nuclear infrastructure. It has stationed troops, air bases, and naval fleets in Syria, a nation bordering Israel itself. It has hosted joint military exercises with Turkey, Iran, and even Libyan factions. From a political perspective, it's a coalition designed to challenge Western dominance. But from a prophetic perspective, it's a perfect match for the alliance Ezekiel described over 2,500 years ago. And the Bible hints at something even more ominous: spiritual forces driving these earthly events. In Daniel chapter 10, an angel tells Daniel that he was delayed because he was fighting the Prince of Persia, a spiritual ruler, influencing an empire from behind the scenes. If Persia had a spiritual prince, is it so unthinkable that modern nations, including Russia, are also influenced by unseen powers? Some translations of Ezekiel chapter 38 even call Gog the Prince of Rosh, which many believe links directly to Russia. This would mean Russia's role in the end times isn't merely political or military. It's part of a much older, deeper spiritual war. A war orchestrated by unseen powers, working through kings and generals, shaping alliances, moving armies, all aimed at opposing God's plan and striking his people. And here's the sobering part. While the prophecy makes it clear that Gog's coalition will be destroyed, its rise will send shockwaves across the earth. Economies could crumble, borders could change overnight, nations could be dragged into a conflict they never intended to fight, simply because the storm is too massive to avoid. For those who understand prophecy, this isn't just chaos, it's confirmation. Every step toward this alliance is another sign that the stage is being set. Exactly as the Bible foretold, Ezekiel leaves no doubt about the outcome. In Ezekiel chapter 39, verses 4 and 5, God declares, "On the mountains of Israel, you will fall, you and all your troops, and the nations with you. I will give you as food to all kinds of carrion birds, and to the wild animals. You will fall in the open field, for I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord." This is not poetic exaggeration. It's the image of a battlefield so utterly destroyed that its only witnesses are the scavenger birds and wild beasts. The same armies that once terrified the world will be nothing more than a memory, broken, silenced, erased. And if that wasn't enough, Revelation chapter 20, verse 9, describes the final Gog and Magog uprising. After the 1,000 years of peace, but fire came down from heaven and devoured them. No drawn-out siege, no negotiations, just a single, undeniable, supernatural strike from the hand of God. The message could not be clearer. No matter how powerful Gog and Magog seem, no matter their armies, their alliances, their weapons, they will never stand against the living God. But here's what should keep us all awake at night. What we are seeing right now may be the opening act. Russia's tightening grip on the Middle East, its military presence in Syria, its alliances with Iran and Turkey. These aren't just random events. They're puzzle pieces, sliding perfectly into place within a picture the prophet Ezekiel painted thousands of years ago. And that means the clock might be ticking faster than most people realize. Now, imagine this. Israel, after decades of conflict, signs a groundbreaking peace agreement. The world celebrates. News anchors talk about a new era in the Middle East. For the first time in generations, Israel feels secure. Its borders are quiet. Its enemies appear to step back. But while the world exhales in relief, something else is happening. In the shadows, from the far north, a coalition is quietly forming. Not in haste, but with patience, like a predator circling its prey, waiting for the exact moment to strike. Warships shift into new positions. Strategic military bases hum with activity. Armies assemble. not for training, but for a purpose. Alliances solidify behind closed doors, signed with handshakes, sealed with promises. The world will never hear until it's too late. And then, without warning, the peace shatters. From a human perspective, it will look like Israel's darkest hour, the most dangerous military threat in its modern history. From God's perspective, it will be the moment he reveals his power in a way no one can deny. If that day comes in our lifetime, it will shake the world to its core. But let's be clear, the Bible's purpose in giving us these prophecies is not to terrify us. It's to prepare us, to remind us that history is not random, that every alliance, every headline, every global shift is part of a story already written. Ezekiel's vision, Revelation's warning, they're not just religious texts, collecting dust on a shelf. They are living prophecies, unfolding in real time. Whether we are years away, decades away, or closer than we dare imagine, the signs are impossible to ignore. So here's my question to you. Do you believe Russia is already stepping into the role of Gog, leader of Magog? Are the alliances we see forming today the very ones described in Ezekiel, the beginning stages of the end times coalition? Or do you think the real fulfillment still lies far in the future? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with a friend, a family member, anyone who needs to see the connection between today's headlines and ancient prophecy. If you want to go even deeper, subscribe now and watch my next video. We're going to uncover more biblical prophecies that are unfolding before our eyes right now. Prophecies that will change the way you see the news and the future, because here's the truth. What's coming is not just another chapter in human history. It's the final act. And whether we're ready or not, we are standing right at the edge of it.